If you turn this video at one point off, and please tell me what the reason was so that I can improve. Otherwise, hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn Biographyology. Today, Saint Antony of Padua. And after we've done it, we're going to do extensor carpi ulnaris strength training. The extensor carpi ulnaris is here. And if you participate in the extensor carpi ulnaris strength training, then it's at your own risk. And we're reading this text now for the second time. And now we try to gather the information together, memorize them, and make a presentation out of them for memory. Saint Antony of Padua lived in the 12th and 13th century. The feast day is the 13th June, and the symbols in art are a book, bread, the infant Jesus, a lily, and a torque. He's the patronage of lost articles, poverty, starvation, harvests, pregnant and barren women, sailors, travelers, fishermen, and animals. Let's try to remember most of his patronages. When I have lost articles, poverty, starvation, harvest, pregnant and barren woman, sailors, travelers, fishermen, and animals. Profile, he is a Franciscan friar and gift preacher and doctor of a church. I still don't know what doctor is, but we are now at that point in this book where we're believing that doctor of a church is a title someone gets when they study something in theology in the church. And he was a part of a Franciscan order or something. And he was a good preacher. Antony may have raised a few eyebrows when he denied his noble Portuguese inheritance to take up the vows of poverty. He was born in Portugal to a family which was ascribed with nobility, but he chose to live as a monk, I don't know, live in the order of Saint Francis. In poverty. But even his brethren were surprised when Antony, on hearing how some Franciscan missionaries were murdered in Morocco for their faith, was so filled with zeal for Christian martyrdom that he decided to follow their example and went to evangelize among the Muslims. I don't know what zeal is, so I don't know what now his thinking about it was, but we can say what happened. Even though there was a danger with missionarying in Morocco, there were previously people killed with Christian faith, he went there to tell to the people to believe in the stories of the Bible instead of the one in the Quran. Though illness there forced him to abandon his mission, he had heard his calling to be a Franciscan preacher. So he had an illness and he came back, but then Antony settled in Italy after his ship landed there during a storm on his return from Morocco. So he returned and came not to Portugal, but to Italy. During an ordination ceremony, I don't know what it is, Antony was told to fill in and utter whatever words the Holy Spirit should provide. The eloquence of his sermon amazed all present, and thereafter his talents became renowned. I don't know what renowned means. There was a sermon held, and I don't know, it's a sermon. There was a ceremony held, and he was asked to hold a speech. Was told to fill in, utter whatever words the Holy Spirit should provide, and the story is told that he was having the words directly from the Holy Spirit, and the people were amazed with his eloquence. Though he was strong in spirit, his body was weak. Antony died aged just 36 in Padua, that is in Italy. And if you're wondering enough, I looked it up, there is a movie with the title Pilgrimage to Padua, at least what would be the English title. And the city he had made his home and where his relics remain. Today, the tomb is a popular pilgrimage shrine. So people are pilgrimaging to Padua in Italy to pray or to be at the shrine where the relics are of Saint Antony of Padua. Finder of lost things. Everywhere Saint Anthony is asked to intercede with God for the return of things lost or stolen. The reason can be traced back to an incident in the monastery when his book of Psalms was stolen by novices who had left the community. Antony prayed that it would be found, and the thief was moved to return the psalter to him and also returned to the order. According to legend, the novice was stopped in his flight by a devil brandishing an axe and threatening to trample him underfoot if he did not immediately return the book. We were wondering a bit in the previous part first about the devil, other multiple devil, and the other thing, why should a devil encourage someone, bring something stolen back and do something good and return to the order again? What if a devil was brought to it? But it was just my idea. What if someone has made the devil to do that, force the devil to do something good with greater power? So some force the devil with greater power to do something good. Shortly after Antony's death, people began praying through him to recover lost and stolen articles. It is written of him, "The sea obeys and fetters break, and lifeless limbs thou dost restore, while treasures lost are found again, when young or old thine aid implore." I don't really know if the first two lines are meant to St. Anthony of Padua. The sea obeys and fetters break. We have here patronage of fishermen and sailors. And the last thing, he delivered a sermon to fish on the bank of the river Brenta near Padua. What if it is meant to him? The sea obeys and fetters break. I don't know what fetters are. And lifeless limbs thou dost restore. While treasure lost or found again, when young or old, thine aid implore. I'm wondering a little if I'm able to memorize these 4 lines. If sea obeys and fetters break, and limbs to aid to life restores, and lifeless limbs thou dost restore, and lifeless limbs thou dost restore. The sea obeys and fetters break, and lifeless limbs to health restore. And lifeless limbs thou dost restore. To health restores also not. As a poetical word. The sea obeys and fetters break, and lifeless limbs thou dost restore. And lifeless limbs thou dost restore. The sea obeys and fetters break, and lifeless limbs thou dost restore. While treasures lost are found again. While treasures lost are found again, when young or old thine aid implore. While treasures lost are found again. While treasures lost are found again. While treasures lost are found again, when young or old thine aid implore. The sea obeys and fetters break, and lifeless limbs thou dost restore. The sea obeys and fetters break, and lifeless limbs thou dost restore. While treasures lost, thou dost restore. While treasures lost are found again. While treasures lost are found again, when young or old thine aid implore. Miracles. 3 of the most celebrated. I just found the poem very, very beautiful from the words. 3 of the most celebrated miracles attributed to Saint Anthony, who was considered the greatest miracle worker of his time, are as follows. At Rimini, a horse refused to eat its normal diet of oats for 3 days. Only when Saint Antony held out the Eucharist did the horse break its fast. Okay, a horse was refusing to eating for 3 days. Then he was holding out his Eucharist. I don't know what an Eucharist is. And the horse started to eat it and got healthy again. And by making the sign of a cross, he rendered harmless poisoned food offered to him by some Italian heretics. I can't get this story, how it happened, straight. If he was given poisoned bread, why should he now eat it? Or try to eat it, even if he knew he could just render, I don't know what render means, but I think that means to make it unpoisoned. Why should he eat it even if he would know that making the sign of a cross would make them unpoisoned? Or had he or that could be possible. He had eaten the poisoned bread, did this show the sign of intoxication, of being poisoned, did the cross and restored to health again. That would make sense. We have one little problem, that why should he eat it? And why does he know that it is poisoned? And if he knows it, why does he attempt to eat it? And if he makes it unpoisoned, how do we know that it was poisoned? So, but I have a story. He is eating the bread, gets poisoned, gets sick, but then he makes a sign of the cross and restores to health. I don't know if the story goes like that, but that would be... just by itself, a beautiful story. He delivered a sermon to fish on the bank of the river Brenta near Padua. Don't give it Padua. So I think now that he's not talking to the fish, will was my hypothesis. I think, I understand the sentence now. But he was telling the fisher people there that they should fish at the banks of Brenta near Padua. Okay, now the rhyme. What was it? The sea of base and fetters break and lifeless limbs what does to restore, while treasures lost are found again when young or old were ate and flow. Do we have it all together? We don't have time left. Book, bread, infant Jesus, lily talk, lost articles, poverty, starvation, harvest, pregnant or barren woman, fisher, sailors, animals, travelers. Story I have a clear. Portuguese, Morocco, when Italy, when dying, 36 pilgrimage place with proselytics, holding a speech, having gotten the words of the Holy Spirit. People are asking for his help for lost articles or stolen articles. There is a story that the psalm book was stolen by novice when he prayed, and that novice was met by a devil and he returned them, threatening to harm him if he would not return it. And that is why people are praying. The three wonders are the horse, the Eucharist holding out, and the horse is eating again. The second one is that he was poisoned, or people tried to poison him, but he did the sign of a cross, and so he was not poisoned. So by holding it a little bit, I cannot tell the story, but that is the story. I don't know if that's the story of my version. And the other thing is that I don't understand. Maybe I'm just going to say it like that. And all people who know the story won't even think that they wouldn't understand it if they wouldn't know the story. And all the other ones are just reading. He delivered a sermon to fish on the banks of the river Brenta. On the bank? Do people fish on the bank? Now the point is we don't have time. We just have 3 minutes and I need 1.5 minutes just for the presentation if I do it in the first take. What was the 4 lines poetry? The sea obeys and fetters break, and lifeless limbs what does restore, while treasures lost are found again when young or old are in flow. That was for now the part of St. Antony of Padua. We're going to do another part of St. Antony of Padua, and then we go fast over all the facts again, and then trying to do the presentation from memory. If you were here for Biographyology, you can go directly to the next part of Biographyology. If you stay here and participate in the extensor kappa on hours 12, 20 minutes, 20 hours. Good in the sense, hand next to you, ask whatever, hands on to fists and bring them down. And up. The floodgate exercise, and again. Now, 3 rules. The first rule is that we're stopping immediately as soon as there's pain. The second rule is that we're going only as fast as we can go with a little bit of effort. Now straight, counterfeit money check, and down, and up. And the third rule is we're not overdoing it. We just want to strengthen, not to exhaust. You don't even have enough time for the extensor kappa nose strength. You can use a sock, a towel, or a t-shirt. Press on it and bring the fist down. Press evenly with all 5 fingers with good or moderate force. Genau. Now hold the hand straight and bring it on the other side. And again. Other hand, hold, press and bring down. And go. And now to the inside. And now press good. And right. It was a little bit short and extensor kappa nose to I thank you very much and until next time.